We're ready.
Okay, you can have first question.
Okay, so when you talked about offshoring, so what impacts would this lead to eventually?
A 43% increase in greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay, you can have the next question.
Grace, I have a question.
You can go for it.
Okay, let's talk about obesity, right? What's the reason the majority of people are obese right now?
The reason of obesity,
Is mostly because of ultra processed foods.
like we stated, 90% of 60 to 90% of a diet is consist of ultra processed foods, and you haven't replied to that fact.
So you tell us that there's overconsumption of these processed foods and plastic packaging. Why is there not overconsumption when it's packaged in things like cardboard or paper?
Because plastic is so good for packaging these types of foods. If we ban plastic, it starts discouraging companies from making these types of ultra processed foods because they won't have this type of material to package with, because plastic is so good at this. And slowly but surely, we will decrease obesity. But can I ask a question?
Go for it.
So in your summary, you talked about how one second, let me just pull up my flow. So yeah, you talked about how sending monetary aid isn't good because it goes through the government. So how does sending food aid work? Because I'm pretty sure it goes through the government, and that therefore the same reason as monetary aid, the starving people won't actually get what they need directly.
Yeah, so the fundamental difference here is that when you send monetary aid to governments, it's given to the government, right? The US government, when it sends money, it's not just like giving $100 to every single person in like a developing country. They're giving money to the government, which helps them usually rebuild infrastructure. The difference is when they're giving food aid, yes, sure, it goes through the government, but the government gives it to the people.
No, we're talking about monetary aid for food, not just for infrastructure.
Right, but the problem is a lot of the times the governments who get that money don't use it for food. They use it for other government things like infrastructure. Like when you look at developing countries, most of that money from the government never trickles down to like the nation's poorest, because that's
Do you have a card for
You're
that?
telling that the government that we're sending food to, that we're helping, would like not help their own citizens and like would go against the US, which is like the biggest
Yeah.
country in NATO.
yes,
That's
what
exactly what we're saying, right?
what
First,
corrupt governments
corruption exists all around governments, all around the world. But the second thing is that even if, let's take you at your best, right? Every person, when they get monetary aid, let's say they get like $100 to spend on aid or spend on food every single week. If that country is in a famine, in a civil war, or in some other type of situation where they fundamentally cannot produce food, they aren't able to get that food even if they have the money.
Yeah, so sending money incentivizes people to farm. So if we give money to like farmers, for example, they can farm more. Instead of making them rely on us for their only source of food, we can make them self-reliant. So we actually solve the issue as well.
Also, can you share the card about like corruption?
I think that's your burden to prove.
It's cross, it's fine.
Okay.